Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Ghost here. Today I bring you guys another comparison video between the Bullfrog and the now buffed PPSH. Now I wanted to make this video because the idea behind buffing the PPSH, and this was actually in the patch notes, was to make the PPSH be able to compete with the current SMG landscape of Warzone. And I think now with this buff, it allows it to compete with the top SMGs, which the Bullfrog is considered to be right now, no debate, top 2 SMG in the game. Most people put Bullfrog at number 1, but I'm more of an LC10 guy, so I consider the LC10 to be the best SMG. But the Bullfrog is a easy, strong second. But with this PPSH buff, we're gonna have to check it out and see if it's able to compete with the top tier SMGs. But before we get into that, I want to say, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 2K. We are about 330 away, so if you can help a brother out, that'd be greatly appreciated. Also, if you could do me a favor and drop me a follow on Twitch, we're about 12 followers away from 200, so that would also be very appreciated. Always goes underscore, by the way. But yeah, man, with that being said, let's get into this comparison. And here we have the recoil pattern for the PPSH, which, as you can see, is a pretty straightforward recoil pattern, nothing too crazy. The only thing is the fact that the increase of recoil happens very quickly because of its fire rate. But when you put on your attachments and you start using it, it's not that big of a deal, so don't worry about it too much. Yeah, the changes that actually occurred to the PPSH were nothing too crazy. You know, a simple 27 to 28 damage increase, so basically it increased damage by 1, and a simple damage range increase, just making it stronger at range. And this goes on top of the other buff it received when the AMAX got nerfed. I think the damage range got increased at that time as well. And so just overall, this gun at range should be a lot more stronger. But I gotta be honest, at range, this gun still felt kind of weird. And as you can see in my class setup, my weird class setup of the PPSH with the sight and all that, that was the result of me using PPSH, and it was like, yo, I felt like it was lacking. And actually, if you guys watched my last video, my last PPSH video, which was the video prior to this one, you would see that the class setup is completely different. And that is because in that video, I was like under a honeymoon phase where I was like, yo, this is the class setup. But as I started using it, I was like, I'm not really liking it. I wasn't vibing with it. And so I kind of gave up on the weapon. But then I was looking at everybody else's class setup. I was trying to see like a class setup that would appeal to me. And I was watching somebody or a streamer, using this gun, and I was like, and this class setup specifically, and I was just like, yo, I'm gonna try that out. I feel like that's gonna work for me. Although it had a sight on the SMG, which is something that I'm kind of against. I never liked putting the sight on the SMG. I always thought it was weird because, why would you have a sight on the SMG, right? But, it was working. You know what I'm saying? It definitely worked a lot better than the other class setup. I had a lot more success with it. But, at the end of the day, it's all about personal preference. So my class setup might not be ideal to some of you guys. Other things or other specific setups will be ideal for you. That's okay. You know what I'm saying? There's no right or wrong when it comes to building your gun. It's just how you feel, how comfortable you feel with it. And I feel very comfortable with this gun specifically, and I'm just vibing with it. But I will say that although I like this gun, I can't see myself using it over the Bullfrog. Not to say that it can't compete with the Bullfrog, but for me personally, when I was using this PPSH and going up against the Bullfrog or going up against an LC10 or even an XM4, I felt like I couldn't, I just think it didn't have it, like I felt like those other guns were easily beating it, and I was just like, man, I can't do this. I love the gun. It's a great nostalgic feeling, but at the end of the day, man, I can't see myself personally picking it over the Bullfrog or the LC10. But that's not to say that it isn't a good weapon or it can't compete. I would still recommend it to you 100%. Because again, it's all about personal preference. You might not like the Bullfrog, and you might think that the PPSH is a lot more just suitable for you, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like maybe at some point in my Warzone lifespan, I'm probably gonna switch to the PPSH because I have phases with guns, and maybe my PPSH phase will come one day. Maybe, who knows? But one of the things that kind of turned me off from PPSH though was just the range aspect. Like at medium and long range, I just felt like it wasn't getting the job done. And look, using the SMG as a long-range weapon is kind of silly because it's SMG. It's supposed to be used for, close-range combat. But with the Bullfrog and LC10, I tend to use it to its limit. I use it at those ranges where, SMGs shouldn't be trying to gun things. And, maybe I die a few more times than I should because I use them at those crazy ranges, but it works, I just feel like that's what I want my SMG to do. And any SMG that can't do that, it kind of just turns me away. And the PPSH, even with the sight, didn't really feel like it was, fitting my needs and my wants. Maybe I need to find a better class setup, but I don't know. I guess I need to experiment a lot more with it. I experimented with it a lot, but I think I need to get back into the lab and do some more experimenting, because I feel like I'm on the cusp of finding that class setup for the PPSH, but I just gotta keep trying. But with that being said, man, let's get into the Bullfrog. And here I have the recoil pattern for the Bullfrog, which you can see nothing too crazy. Almost similar to the PPSH recoil pattern. It's just that it slants a little bit to the left as it develops. But the way the recoil increases is very steady, making this gun have like no recoil. It's a very accurate weapon, very easy to control. And as you guys can see there, 2 different class setups that I have for you guys. And that's because I kind of like alternated between those 2 class setups, because I like both of them. I wanted to try out different setups for the Bullfrog to maximize its potential. And I think both of my class setups I would recommend. I'm not saying they're the best. I'm not saying like those are the ones that you should 100% have to, because at the end of the day, again, like I mentioned earlier, it's all about personal preference. It's just as long as you have a mobile Bullfrog and steady Bullfrog, you'll be good. You'll be good. The only thing I would recommend though for everybody would be the Tiger Team Spotlight. That's like the one attachment I would recommend. Again, you don't have to. It's just that it makes your mobility a lot quicker. And I love mobility, so that's definitely something I recommend. But yeah, man, this Bullfrog right here, man, it's had a very interesting, I guess, cycle or path to becoming the top gun in the game, or one of the top guns in the games, or secondaries, I should say. And I don't know, man. I remember when the integration first happened. This was like a underrated weapon that people kind of slipped on. I wouldn't say it was like intentional. It was just that like the MAC-10, the FAR, all those other guns were just towering over it. And it just, it was like this one gun that was low-key. It was good, but not able to compete with the meta. But obviously, after all that stuff got nerfed, and that Season 3 stuff came in, and the whole landscape got completely flipped upside down, the Bullfrog had the opportunity to, it had the opportunity to take that throne, or at least become a top 3 SMG. That's exactly what it did. Now, initially, when Season 3 first came out, I thought the LC-10 was going to be like the meta, or the next thing to rule Warzone, which I'm sad it didn't, because I still prefer the LC-10 over the Bullfrog. But don't get me wrong, the Bullfrog is obviously a really good weapon. It's actually favored by a lot of top tier players, a lot of players. Like, I think right now, in terms of secondaries, this might be the most popular one. It's the one I see the most, and when I see people play tournaments, this is like the gun that I see being used, and everyone's like has their hands on this, which is great. It's great to see that, because the Bullfrog, I think, definitely deserves the spotlight, and I'm happy that it's in the spotlight. So again, I do love the gun, but I'm more of an LC-10 guy myself. Although I do find myself using the Bullfrog a lot more nowadays. I don't know why, but it just, it's kind of like, I remember talking about this with my friend. It's like, it reminds me of the Kilo and AMAX. Like, when the Kilo was meta, right? Like, the AMAX was better in terms of damage and a few other things, but everyone was still using the Kilo. That's how I feel with the LC-10 and Bullfrog. Like, I feel like the LC-10 is the AMAX, and the Bullfrog is the Kilo. And I'm honestly, like, at this point, though, like, now that I'm thinking about it, because the Kilo got nerfed, if the Bullfrog ever gets nerfed, well, actually, it technically already did, right? It got balanced. But I never even thought it to be, like, that crazy, like, good, to the point where it needed to be balanced. But I don't know, man. I guess that balance made it feel something else, because this gun has been frying ever since that little balance update that they had. But I'm hoping that they don't change it, because this gun isn't, like, some top-tier broken weapon, but at this point, Raven and all them don't surprise me, because they just decide to tune weapons that don't really need tuning. But it's okay. They've been doing a great job recently. I can't give them, I can't be giving them flack, because they've been doing a great job with updates, and I'm very happy of the state of Warzone right now. I think it's a very fun meta, and I just can't wait for more weapons to get added, and just to hopefully they make them balanced. So like, instead of having like, so we could just have everything be viable. I think the perfect game would just straight up be everything being viable. Like, every gun that you use is gonna be able to compete with the top, and every gun could make a case to be a top gun. That, I think, would be the perfect meta. Maybe some of you guys might disagree with me on that, but I think we're on the road to that, no lie. And yeah, man. Again, this Bullfrog, man, I'm so happy that it's at this, I guess, at this level of it being number 1 or number 2, whatever you guys personally rank them. Again, I put it at number 2. LC-10 is still on top for me, but the Bullfrog is definitely a top 2 weapon, top 2 SMG, I should say. And like the PPSH, although it got buffed, I can't see it cracking top 5 in secondaries, because if you really put it into perspective, I think the Mac, the XM4, the AK-47, the Bullfrog, the LC-10, and even more honorable mentions out there are more suitable for me personally than the PPSH itself. Again, though, this is all personal preference. You might have a completely different ranking than mine, which is great. I'm saying should be like no conflicts there. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about both the Bullfrog and both PPSH, and where do you guys personally rank them on your rankings. And yeah, man, thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Peace.